How do you feel?
I'm feel. Good. I'm very feel.
How you feel?
I'm feel. I'm very feel.
How do you feel?
I'm feel. I'm very feel.
You feel?
Yes, I'm feel. I'm very, very feel.
Welcome back, heroes and adventurers. I am the Ancient Gamer, and today we're going to compare two of the most popular graphics overhauls for Skyrim and take a look at how well they work for Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Before we go any further though, if you enjoy this video or find it useful, make it happy, give it a like, do yourself a solid and subscribe to my channel. It feels good. Ring that bell for notifications, that feels good too. The two graphics overhauls we're going to be looking at are Skyland and Noble Skyrim. Both are well established and very popular with modders. Both have a distinct look and give Skyrim a different feel. Though they share a few similarities, there are many key differences. For starters, Skyland is newer and gets updated more frequently. Noble has been around a long time, but still holds its own and is preferred by many. Skyland is better optimized. Noble covers more stuff in your game, everything from landscapes to clutter. Size is one really big consideration, especially when you're modding on console. Noble is much larger and takes a way bigger chunk of your reserve space to install than Skyland. The complete Noble Skyrim package is 12 different mods, that's right, 12, that add up to 2.2 plus gigabytes. Figure on 3 gigabytes of reserve space total used with the other graphics mods in the load order factored in. Skyland is only 2 mods that tally up to 1.2 gigabytes of reserve space, with that coming to about 2 gigabytes of total reserve space with the other graphics mods in the load order. That's an entire gigabyte of difference, or 1/5 of your total reserve space less. That is a fucking chunk. Whether or not it's worth it comes down to how much you like the look and how much reserve space you want to set aside for graphics mods, but the fact that Noble Skyrim is an entire gigabyte larger is definitely something to consider. If you decide you want to use the Noble Skyrim mods with my better graphics for Skyrim order, just remove Divine SMIM, as Noble Skyrim has an SMIM of its own custom made for it, and the Skyland mods, and then you can put the Noble mods in this order in my load order just exactly like this. In my better graphics for Skyrim load order, I do use the Skyland Suite of Mods, but Skyland isn't the only game in town. Let's see how it compares to Noble Skyrim. Okay, first we're going to check out Whiterun and Skyland, and you know, I just love those cobblestone street textures there in Skyland. But you know what, when you look at Noble, it makes you wonder, being as Noble's a lot older, if the mod author responsible for Skyland might have been inspired by Noble a little bit for those textures. They look, you know, fairly similar, but they're both really good. Now here we go back to Skyland. And one thing I'm picking out right away is that Skyland looks more high-res and sharper, but Noble has a little bit more of a rich color palette. And I tell you what, I like them both. But you look at the red on the wood there, and okay, now just for shits and giggles, we'll check out Vanilla so we can see, you know, what kind of a change we're making here. And wow, that's a big difference over Vanilla. There's Skyland for you. And we'll cruise on over and do Noble. And yeah, you can really just see there's just a little bit more red and kind of a sunlight, kind of a warm color palette here to Noble. And I like that. I like them both. They're both really excellent. One more time with Vanilla here, just to get that dramatic, you know, change here. And wow, I love the Skyland Solitude Overhaul. It just really, really, really sharpens up Skyrim. But holy shit, Noble looks really good too. Those cobblestones are totally different from Skyland. It's a completely different look. So now that we're back to Skyland, we'll just hobble on down the main drag and go past the alchemy shop there. And then we'll flip a Yui and turn it around and take a look back at Business Row. Downtown Solitude. And now we'll flip over to Noble again. And man, they both look fucking phenomenal. They both look really good. They're both just stellar mods. And it really, you know, I hate to say this again, but it does. It comes down to your personal choice and which one you like better. You know, I love the cobblestones in Noble. They look really awesome. Okay, now we're here in Markarth. Now, there will be a really dramatic difference between the two because the author of Skyland has replaced most of the textures in Markarth with sort of a white marble sort of look to it. And you either like it or you don't, I think. I like it, but it's very different from vanilla. Whereas you can see with Noble is much closer to vanilla, but just much more detailed and higher resolution than vanilla. I think they both look great. It just, oh my gosh, I mean, so sick of saying it. It comes down to personal preference, okay? So now we'll check out the towns and villages and see what they look like. This is Skyland and the Woodchopper. This is still the Woodchopper, and now he's Noble. He's a Noble Woodchopper. And I think they look very similar. Noble's a little darker in color here in the villages and on the wood, the logs, the support logs. And then there's Skyland. See, I think Skyland does look higher res and sharper, but it also looks older and more weathered and beat on. Whereas Noble, it looks like everything was built a little more recently. It's not quite as not quite as antique looking, not quite as ancient looking. And that's, you know, neither good or bad. It's just a difference in the way the two mods, you know, make the game look. I think for certain builds, you know, Noble would be an awesome choice. And now we'll just go to landscapes and compare those two. Skyland's famous for its landscapes, and so we'll get a look here right up against Noble and see what it looks like. Now, one thing you'll notice is when you flip over to Noble here, there's a little more detail in the far off distance up there on Bleakwind Barrow, and that's because of the HD LOD mod that's part of this load order. And it makes a real difference when you look way out. You can really tell when you look way out into the distance. Now here's Whiterun from the hillside in Skyland. And once again, one more time, you'll see that LOD mod at play here when the Noble loads up. Okay, yeah, there you go. And I think that's really spectacular. That LOD mod really, really, really helps. Skyland could use one of those. The mod author behind Skyrim has promised that one is coming soon, but right now that's an advantage that Noble has for sure. And now we go to Windhelm, and here's Skyland. And for me, at least, this is the clear win for Skyland in this comparison. Noble just looks a little too clean, and the icicles aren't as good. Because, you know, Windhelm's supposed to be like the bad side of town almost, you know, sort of run down, old, gritty, a little bit on the dirty side. Maybe could use a good cleaning, good power wash. And it looks that way in Skyland. It looks like a pile of rubble, kind of. You know, whereas it got that bath. You see what I mean there, Jelly Beans? It got that bath. It looks much cleaner if you look at the walls now with Noble. And that just isn't Windhelm to me. I mean, this looks good, and I like the snow on the ground. That's a nice effect. This is definitely not crappy or terrible, but I think Skyland wins the Windhelm battle here. So we'll finish up the tour here in Riften. And both mods do a phenomenal job in Riften. They just really bring it to life and make it look excellent and super sharp and really detailed. Skyland looks phenomenal. And then I think you'll notice that with the, Noble, you're going to find that Noble has maybe a little bit richer color palette. Same story we've seen, you know, all the way around. And here is Noble. And yeah, definitely you can see it's just ever so slightly I think that the key word is it's got a warmer sort of color balance and just a little bit richer color on like the tapestries there and the green coming out from the, you know, from the wall. But by and large, they're very similar and they're both really high quality. I think the only question you need to ask yourself is if you really like Noble a lot, and I think they're both awesome. Is there 1 gigabyte of reserve space worth a difference between them, and is it worth it to you to take that hit on your reserve space? You know, me personally, I really like them both. It's really hard to tell much of a difference between the two. Just in terms of overall quality, it basically just comes down to what you like. I am the Ancient Gamer. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and will consider coming back for more. Remember to give it a like, make it happy. That makes the video feel good. Subscribe to my channel and ring the bell. That makes you feel good. It's all about the games we play and love to play. Stay tuned. I'll be back soon with more stuff.